Morning, Carolyn. Thanks for the invite. This is the picture was just taken recently in our fall garden at Palm Center. What we have here, you can see mustard greens really catching off. Actually, I planted these mustard greens late because I like to stagger my crop in a sense, whereas I plant some things earlier, and then I use those baby plants and I actually transplant them and put them into another bed. So this is one of the beds, the first bed you see on your left there. It's mustard greens, Florida broadleaf variety. The second bed that we have there, I have another different type of brassicas, which are cabbage and also some broccoli. This is another view of the garden here. And what we see here, and one of those beds that's just coming up, that we have a Swiss chard. I have Swiss chard in both of those beds right there. And then the next bed, I have turnip greens. And if you go and look toward that last bed that's barely in view, of mustard greens that I transplanted, that I started out with, transplanted and took to the third bed. These are my first planting, and we've already been harvesting out those mustard greens for the last two.
So did you put those in October or late September?
So first part of October.
First part of October. So now it's getting to be late November, just in time for the holidays.
Just in time for the holidays. The big staples in that community people really like is mustard greens and turnip.
Yes.
I'm still harvesting okra, and people really like okra. As a matter of fact, okra is one of those things that you can plant in the summertime that really strives on the heat. And I can imagine, I know we probably harvested at least 200 pounds of okra from the crops and the beds that we had to plant in. And sometimes you just have to let it go. That was probably one of my last harvests of the okra. The thing I love about okra is that you can always cut it up and put it in the freezer. A lot of people live in Texas, come from Louisiana, and they really love gumbo. And it has a lot of, it doesn't have a long shelf life, but if you cut it up and put it in the freezer, you put enough of it in there when you get ready, as it gets colder and you get ready to cook some really good gumbo in the wintertime. You ought to have plenty in your freezer and ready to go for your gumbo.
Excellent. So when you harvest it, you cut it up fresh and then you freeze it?
Then you freeze it.
Excellent. Okay.
And that's another picture of me harvesting okra. It just comes, it's just, you have to harvest it almost every other day because you don't want the pods to get too long, because as the longer they get, the harder they get down. This is actually one of my higher beds. This variety of okra is called dwarf okra. It doesn't get as high, it doesn't get as tall. So you can really get to it even when you plant it at higher elevations.
Excellent. So that was a dwarf okra. Okay, so that was a late fall harvest of okra and preparing it, freezing it. So
I keep telling my gardeners all the time, they keep seeing it producing, and but you have to let it go, because if you don't get it up and let your bed rest for a while, then you want to use that area to harvest something and plant something else.
Yes. So another key thing that you said about harvesting okra was to harvest it every day, so you don't get tent stakes.
At least every
it's too hard.
Yes. Every other.
At least every other day. Okay, so here's another culinary favorite. I'm going to see what happens and see if we're able to play this little video of catching you in the garden. Yes, and that was a culinary sage. Look how gorgeous your sage plant is. How old is that sage plant?
This is about 5 years old. It's been there. One of the first things that we planted at the garden. It just keep coming in. And we have given so many people in the neighborhood and throughout the city from that one plant. I'll be using it actually make my own cornbread. Oh.
Yummy. Okay, there's a little close-up of harvesting the sage. So a great culinary herb. You can go out and buy a plant and just start your patio garden or backyard garden. And now what do we have here? What are you picking here?
These are garlic chips. And it's also coming and coming, and it seems like the more you cut it, you just keep coming back. And I like to use it in my, when I'm cooking a baked potato that are just running on a meat that I may bake in my oven or in soups. It just has so many uses when it comes to preparing a meal.
Excellent. And again, those are garlic chives, very easy to grow once you have a plant. It multiplies.
And it's a perennial as well.
Yeah, so that's a perennial, and you'll always have it in your garden.
Now, this was a picture taken today, not earlier there. And as you can see, that is a form of bok choy, what you see there. Broccoli is also in that bed, cauliflower, and then at the end of it, I have some kale as well. In the bed next to it there is lettuce. Now, lettuce like cool weather, so lettuce is coming up in another bed next to it, and before long we'll be harvesting.
Super. So we have lettuce is the little baby plants just coming in because it's finally the temperature that they like.
Yes, yes.
And tell us, what are you doing here in this photo?
This is the photo actually when I first planted those mustard greens that you had seen earlier. And as you can see how much they have grown since. Now we're harvesting from that bed. And as you can, and those chives are next to it. So those mustard greens, about a month ago, those mustard greens were just getting started. And you can tell the difference between then and now. From planting until now we're actually harvesting in this particular bed almost every year.
To harvest the mustard greens, Mr. Garner is picking the outer leaves.
The outer leaves, you go from outside in, because if you go from the outside in and continue to add new growth to it, you'll be harvesting more frequently. Let's say if you went in there and didn't do it properly.
That's right. So he's harvesting the outer leaves. And I'm bouncing back because there in the corner, we have the garlic chives. Here's a little view there in the background. On the edge and borders, Mr. Garner has herbs and the garlic chives.
Yes. So you can see the difference between then and now, as we showed you in one of those first pictures that we had from those mustard. Those are actually turnips. Those are actually the turnip bed and they are mature and ready to go.